Live from Twin Ring Motegi, this is the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering. Tune in live in one moment's time right here on iRacing Live and RaceSpot TV. High above Twin Ring Motegi in Tochigi Prefecture, Japan, we say good afternoon, sim racing fans, and welcome to RaceSpot TV's continuing coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Industries and Simulation. My name is Cisco Scaramouza alongside Jack Styles to bring you all the action here on YouTube, iRacing Live, Facebook Live. Jack, race number 10 of this 2017, or should I say 2011, Classic IndyCar Series. A lot of drama on the line, and the points championship getting closer and closer in this series.
We have had a startling and brilliant season so far. Obviously, we've had the races at New Hampshire where we saw Grosser and Laville crash, and last time out at Sonoma, the battles that we had there. What we have today is going to be one of the... We're now into the last 3 rounds of the season. Lucas Laville has got a rear of grid penalty. He's got again in Kentucky in just a few weeks' time. And Robert Grosser is going to be starting at 3rd position. And Cisco, I think you've got the points.
Yeah, the point standings as they run right now, Lucas Laville currently sitting atop the point standings with 309. Then you go to Robert Grosser with 273, Henry Bennett 267, Carson Broadway sits 4th at 218, and 185 to Hans Pitikanen. But either way, we have to keep in mind, Jack, that drop week's also going to play a factor. That graphic we saw does not have that, so keep in mind, if these guys have a race where they wreck out, they'll be able to recoup some of those points the way the drop weeks work. Yeah,
obviously, Lucas Laville has got drop weeks from the previous rounds where he has missed it, especially at Sonoma last time out. So that's going to help him, but it just means that he has to be so much more concentrated, so much more on the ball in these final few races. He cannot make any mistakes and has to take all the points possible out of these last few.
Absolutely, but the qualifying clock is at 0, so as cars begin to line up on the back straightaway here at the Twin Ring Motegi, let's run you through your starting grid here for the Indy Final at Japan. Alessandro Deladrone has got the pole time with the time of 1:34.215. John Elmsweiler is going to start second with the time of 1:34.469. Then you got Robert Grosser, Sam Sanders, and Hans Pitikanen rounding out your top 5. Timo Isinyemi is going to start 6th. 7th going to go to David Costello. 8th going to go to Johnny Garrett. 9th going to go to Jos van der Ven. And Dale Stanley rounds out your top 10.
Tim Miller is going to be starting at 11th, and alongside him Henry Bennett with a 136.1, not where we usually expect him. We usually like to see him up in the top 5. Andrew Adair Saunders in the full machine is going to start on row number 7 in 13th with TM Hauser alongside him. Katus Bonback going to start 15th and Randy Shoemake 16th. No times Lewis Zambelli, Lucas Laville, James Payne and Rory Collins. Lucas Laville and I believe Lewis Sambelli both had rear of grid penalties.
Yeah, we'll run you through everyone who's got that. Andy Morgan, James May, Tyler Vickery, Jonathan Diggs, David Lodi, Andrew Aitken, Michael Gerlicka, and then of course Lucas Laville and Luis Zambelli. Those are the guys who all have rear of the grid penalties, 4 of them having to use it here today at Twin Ring Motegi. Very challenging course, 2.98 miles around this circuit, 14 turns make it up, and you'll be seeing us go under the oval, the super speedway above us here several different times. A very scenic and very unique circuit here in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan, obviously at Motegi, we have the road course which we're on today, but we also have the oval just above us. You'll be able to see it as we come through these last few corners. There you go, just seeing where that Dunlop's sponsorship is. Above that is the oval. We're not using that today, we're on the road course, and this is going to be a 61 lap or 2 hour race, and it's going to be extremely exciting.
As the pace car heads to pit road, we thank you very much for joining us here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. The field in control of Deladrone in the number 98. He looks for the green flag past the tower and the long straightaway that leads to that start gate. It makes it easy because there's a bridge right over that start-finish line. The green flag is in the air, and we are live here from Motegi.
Timo Sanyemi getting a brilliant start there, just not being able to make up any positions. Going to stay in around 6th position. Robert Grosser has been able to get his way past John Elmswarmer in the first couple of corners. No big incidents so far. Everyone getting through the first couple of corners cleanly as we head down into 3 and 4 for the first time.
Yeah, very clean start for the most part through the rest of your field. Very single file, but side by side going to happen around Lucas Laville and the Scott Dixon machine in contact. Yep, that's the 18, and that's Shoemake in the 06 who's flipped over there, and big time contact for the 06. He'll end up on his roof, and it all went wrong early on that slow left-hander coming off that second straightaway.
Yeah, it just looks as though Randy Shoemake got collected by the 67 of Capel's Bombers batch, and over he went. Randy Shoemake, he's back onto pit lane already, not even making it round a lap. So at the moment looking as though his race is over, but Alessandro Dalladone has managed to get a brilliant jump. He's already got a lead of just over half a second over, sorry, Sam Sanders has managed to make his way up into 2nd, 3rd position, and Robert Grosser has gotten 2nd. John Elmswarmer has dropped all the way down into 4th, dropping 2 positions in the first lap.
Yeah, Dalladone, very good start to this motor race here, is sitting way out front, and then Robert Grosser kind of bridging that gap back to Sam Sanders in 3rd, but spread out very much so as your entire field at the moment, and then starting to look back. No real battles, looks like more actual problems for Jas van der Ven, so the Acorn machine going from bad to worse, that number 18, so it looks like he lost the back end of that car again as the leaders flash past the start-finish line. Lap number 1 is complete.
Yeah, definitely is. Randy Shoemake, obviously, also, as we know, down to pit lane. Everyone else at the moment, biggest mover and shaker, Lucas Laville, has managed to get up into 8th position already, Cisco. He got a flyer of a start in the number 10 machine, up 9 positions, and he is definitely on the charge to get as many points as he can. Your championship leader at the moment in that number 10 machine, so let's see if he can turn that into anything come the end of this race. Still a long way to go, 61 laps remaining, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, they'll take 61 to go at the line. Laville and the Scott Dixon Target Chip Ganassi machine going to jump to the inside of the Will Power machine of David Costello in that number 12 Verizon entry. And Laville not able to make the pass happen. He had a very good run going into the corner, just wasn't able to commit to put the nose down there. I think he got out of it because he was afraid he might get it chopped off or they may not make it through the turn. So Laville taking it nice and easy. He's been up through a lot through this field so far, but has been making very cautious, very smart moves.
Yeah, just making his way through the field, just make sure not to collect anyone. Obviously, the only big incident we've seen so far is Randy Shoemake getting flipped in the 06 car, still down into the pit lane. Everyone else at the moment, just single file, taking it easy in the first few laps. Obviously, we won't see that come the end of the race, but no big battles going on at the moment. But your top 7 or 2nd back to 8th, all covered by a reasonable distance. And that, obviously, the last person in that train is Lucas Laville. Henry Bennett as well, he's making his way back up through the field. He's got past Johnny Gorette in the 82, just making up for his bad qualifying. Maybe he just hasn't got the car to suit here at Motegi. Obviously, Motegi is a very difficult circuit in these IndyCars, and I think that's going to show on some of the drivers today.
Yeah, Johnny Garrett just took a little bit of an off-track excursion, had to get out, let a couple cars by in that Geico machine, so he'll fall back a little bit ways, lose a couple positions, make that night just a little bit tougher, but it did kind of help out Tim Miller, who's been trying to charge through that field. He's up one position from where he started in that number 2 car, and looks like we're gonna take a moment to say hi to Will Vincent. Apparently he stepped in here, so either way.
That was only in your regard. I'm only here to say hello.
Oh, okay. Hi, Will.
I will.
But very early spread out race for the moment. Your closest battle in the top 5 is going to be John Elmsweiler right now in the 88. Right on the rear wing of the number 59 is Sam Sanders. Sanders going to look to driver's right. This very twisty section, the road course, the Grand Prix course here at Twin Ring Motegi. Elmsweiler looking maybe to see if he can make the jump here, heading to the inside. He'll look to driver's right. Not going to happen, though, as they make this hairpin and down the longest straightaway on this circuit here, Jack. Aerodynamics key here, and Elmsweiler going to get a very good run. The 59 spun the tires, heading through the hairpin.
Yeah, he's just going to try and look down the inside, not going to have enough momentum. Is he going to try and get it done on the brakes? No, he can't. Not going to have enough speed, or just too early on the brakes. So he's going to be still sat there in position number 4. He's looking for third, coming off of Sam Sanders. Sanders, new name to this series, have not seen him before, so let's see how he performs. Obviously, we had Jake Hewlett, the new Coanda driver, out last time at Sonoma, not here today at Motegi, but Sam Sanders already making a name for himself in the Classic IndyCar Series. As Elmsweiler goes down in the inside into turn 1 and 2, he's just going to get the move done up the inside of the 59 machine, but Sanders might come back here. They're going to go too wide down to the 3 and 4.
Yeah, the NTB machine trying to make it happen, still on the outside of the 59, and he's going to be able to hold him off at least for a moment. A little bit of brake lock up. They'll go side by side. Sam Sanders going to hold on to it, and now Elmsweiler has a mirror full of Hans Pickingen in the number 8. They're trying to make it happen, and he's going to look, actually, he's going to get challenged almost 3 wide. LaVille hard on the brakes into that right-hander, and that's all it took. LaVille going to gain another spot. He is charging through this field.
Already up to 6th for Lucas LaVille in the number 10 machine. He is doing fantastically in these first few laps, and he's now got Hans Pickinen in his sights. So he just got past Timo Isinyomi on the brakes. Brilliant move by LaVille up the inside, and he is definitely going to be one to watch come the end of this race. LaVille just maybe going to look for a moment coming into Pickinen, probably on the brakes. He just seems to be better on the brakes than anyone else at the moment, Cisco, and clearly making it work.
Yeah, very excellent job, and a little wide goes Hans Pickinen in that number 8, and he's going to lose a little bit of time to Lucas LaVille. LaVille looking to see if he can get the cut once again. He'll look to inside, I believe, going into this turn. Yep, there's the move. Nothing there for LaVille, though, so he'll back off. This is a very interesting corner because this is past 90 degrees, an acute corner that these guys have to take, a very slow speed corner before you get into these fast S's, getting back onto the straightaway here at the Grand Prix course. And kind of spread out for the most part for first and second. They've gotten away from everybody else, Robert Grosser and Dalladone, rather, and everybody else behind a little bit of a gap. It's about, I'd say, about 4 or 5 seconds between them at the moment.
Yeah, between Robert Grosser and in second and Sam Sanders in third, you're looking at about 3 seconds. So the top 2 have definitely got away. I think they've just been helped by other people fighting. So what we're just going to see is, I think Lucas LaVille is going to be looking for a moment. He's only about 2 tenths back from Hans Pickinen in the 8 car in 5th. Let's see, he's just going to look to the inside, not close enough, coming under the bridge of the oval as we just go out towards the S's and out towards the straights. So LaVille is comfortably in 6th at the moment after starting right at the back of this grid.
And Will, I'll come to you on this. The challenge of passing in these cars on such a aerodynamically sensitive track. We have all these long straightaways which allow you to get a run-up, but as soon as you pull out on one of these cars, you hit that big wall of air. It makes it way harder to pass.
Yeah, and I think what you really need to understand is the evolution of the IR05 machine, because when this car came out, it was designed for ovals, and they added bits into it. We call it the IR09 car, the spec that is running right now here at Motegi. But for a lot of these drivers, you need to understand that first gear doesn't work for you. You want to set second gear to really be your first gear. But at the same time, we talk about Japanese tarmac so often here, Cisco. This is Japanese tarmac at its most brutal because of the fact that you don't get traction out of the corner.
And we've seen a couple of those cars step aside. I think back to the 59 losing the position to Lucas LaVille. He stepped out, wasn't able to get any sort of grip, was Sam Sanders. And you can see right now being challenged by John Elmswire. That leaves a lot, Jack, for these drivers. They have to be so careful on that throttle. It makes it so much harder to get out of the turns.
Yeah, it's just obviously the IndyCar has got so much power, and as Will said, this tarmac just does not give the traction they need. So I think for the drivers, it's definitely going to be a case of managing the tyres to make sure they have the grip they need to get out of the corner as fast as possible. And I think that's also going to be a big thing with overtaking is if you're on the inside, can you get the power down, and can you get the power down well enough to be able to make the move? If you, as we see 1, 2, 3 and 4, they are double apex corners. They are a lot harder than you think, as we're just going to ride on board with the number 88 of John Elmsweimer, challenging for third with Sam Sanders in the 59. He's been sat there for the last few laps looking for an opportunity, hasn't really found one. Lucas Laville is going to get involved in this in just a few moments, but he was the fastest car last time round, but Alessandro Dalladone in the lead. He's already got about a second and a half over Robert Grosser, and also our fastest lap, a 1:36.257 of this race, is John Elmsweimer going to move down the inside, just showing again Sam Sanders coming back to this traction, just could not get the traction off the corner, Cisco.
No, that car does not look happy at all. We saw a brief problem with the number 12 of David Sestella, lost traction and spun that car out. No major damage to the Verizon machine, but able to get that car back going was that driver in the number 12 trying to storm through this field. So keep an eye on that 12. He'll be trying. He's got to pass a couple more cars at the moment. Gaten Bommersbach and Rory Collins next on the list for the driver of the number 12, but spread out once again. Everybody is, and Dalladone doing an excellent job leading this field, increasing that gap on Grosser minusculely at the moment, but you just start building that time because you have to think Lucas Laville is going to be charging through this field before too long, and that's exactly what he's doing now, right behind the driver of Sam Sanders in that 59. Laville, that's the next car on his list to pass here.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes, of course.
Good luck, Scott Dixon, later on today. You carry on.
Yeah, there you go. A few words from our mighty Will Vincent, but Lucas Laville last time around setting the fastest lap of the race, going even faster than Dalladone, who was in the lead. And Laville, as you said, he's already on a charge. He's pushing 110% already, and we're only about 7 laps into this race. We still have 56.5 to go, so he is going to be on it all the way through. I think if he can get ahead of Robert Grosser on this race, I think as long as he finishes well at Kentucky and the final round at Las Vegas, I think he's wrapped up this championship. He has already proved he is a sterling driver this year, and I think this charge from the rear of the grid up to where we are today, he's already just proved that again.
And I see the parallels between this and the real-life IndyCar series. Will mentioned it. Scott Dixon trying to go for another championship in that series. He'll be starting 6th in that race, and kind of parallels because Laville right now sitting 5th has to get through all these cars to get back to the lead. Scott Dixon on the real-life side of things, it's a Penske stranglehold on the top 4 cars, so you can watch that. That'll be at 3:30 Eastern on NBCSN is when you can catch that race. But right now, Laville still in the tire tracks of the car in front of him, Sam Sanders at 59, and kind of, I think at this point, going into a little more of a conservation mode here. We'll see if we can get on the TV pod of this 10 car, because it looks like he's a little bit better hooked up than the car in front of him, but he's not pushing that envelope. He's not using up those tires quite yet.
No, he's not, and I think all the drivers at the moment are just going to be saving the tyres. This is an extremely long race. The Classic IndyCar Series races can anywhere be between anywhere between half or an hour and a half, and then sort of we've seen races go right to the 2-hour mark. New Hampshire, as an example, we couldn't get full distance, so we just need to see how the drivers manage tyres. Obviously, they're going to be changing. I believe they're going to be changing tyres every stops, and it's just going to be a case of see how they manage them. And obviously newer tyres means you're faster, but it could lose you more time in the pits.
Could lose you more time in the pits, and you want to make up that time on pit road. A very odd pit road here, and we'll talk about that more when the cars do come down onto the pit straight. But until then, everybody very spread out, continuing to be spread out at the moment. And the closest battle right now, Dale Stanley just, I believe, lost that position to Tim Miller. No, he's still been stuck behind that Newman Haas machine. It's that driver of the NTB tires car, Dale Stanley, looking. You could see him looking, trying to get that kind of center off speed that everyone's been trying to vie for here, and it wasn't able to happen there. And well, so much for that battle, because meanwhile, Lucas Laville starting to close in on the 59 again here. He gets so close to these slow speed corners, you have to wonder, when's he going to make that move? A very good corner exit for the 10. This might be his shot.
Yeah, I think Laville is just waiting and waiting. He's going to move down to the inside into 1 and 2. We saw him do this earlier on. He's going to do it again. Sanders going to try and shut the door, but there just isn't the room to do it. But Sanders still ahead. Lucas looks like he's got the drive of the corner, getting very close to contact. There's still 2 wide going to be coming down into 3 and 4. the 59 going to be on the inside, going to have the advantage. I think Laville is just going to let him go. Might be able to do it on the undercut of 4. I doubt it though. Sanders is going to get slightly sideways in the 59 coming into turn number 4, but no, Lucas Laville is going to stay down in 5th position. Sam Sanders in 4th, but he's not going to be holding that for long.
No, and a little bit of a lockup there by the 59 of Sanders, so he'll lose a little bit of position there to Laville. That'll keep Laville in check and may give Laville a passing opportunity once we get onto that large straightaway for the moment here, Jack.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the thing, is Lucas Laville is going to use the draft to his advantage, just try and slip it down the inside on the break-ins into turn number 11, the 90-degree corner down towards the victory corner of turn number 14. So let's see what he does. Going to come around turn number 10, come around the hairpin this time. Might not be close enough actually, Cisco.
No, it's going to be very close, but Laville going to lose time, and you see the drive from the 59 off the corner, and that's what missing the apex can do to you if you're not careful. And going to lose a little bit of time is that driver of Lucas Laville. Gains a lot of it back, though, hard on the brakes into the acute right, and that's all it took. 59, Sam Sanders fell off the track, and Lucas Laville says, thank you very much. The Scott Dixon machine, P4.
Yeah, Laville is just going to go around the outside there, coming into 13-14. Good move there by Lucas just to get that done. He is now up to P4, up 13 positions on where he started. So the rear of grid penalty clearly hasn't hurt him too much, Cisco, if he's been able to make up as much time as he has. But as we're just going to come down into 3 and 4 for the 10th time, we're going to just maybe look elsewhere. We're going to see a battle between John Elmsweimer and Robert Grosser now as well. Maybe I think Grosser might have made a mistake because he has dropped quite a lot of time.
Yeah, Grosser has dropped a ton of time here, and he's going to have to try and make up where he can. And you mentioned that the grid penalty didn't mean too much. I'll tell you exactly how much it meant. 6 seconds right now is the difference between Lucas Laville and the leader of Deladone. So that's how much time Laville's going to have to spend catching those guys back up. And already lap traffic starting to be passed here. TM Hauser, who had some problems earlier on, had to come into the garage area for a little bit. Back out on track is the Motegi Racing, number 56. And already going a lap down. Yep, there goes flashing past are the top 3 in your race at the moment: Elmsweiler, Grosser, and Deladone. So TM Hauser going to be a little bit of a chicane here as the 10 starting to close in, but TM Hauser, long day for that driver, and he's not sure if he's going to be able to make that time back up.
TM Hauser is usually one of the drivers who see up the front in sort of the mid-pack of the Classic IndyCar Series, so it's a shame for him to be so far down. It's obviously not having the race that he wanted so far. I believe you do get a fast repair in this series, so you do get almost like a second chance if anything does happen, but it's a case of you have to, you still lose the time and towing back to the pit lane. So obviously keeping yourself clean is probably the best way to go in this series. John Elmsweiler in the 3rd position, just still challenging Robert Grosser, looking a little bit closer than he was this time last lap, but just watch out for Lucas Laville making up time. Okay, he's still about 4 seconds, but is still about 4 seconds back from Elmsweimer, as we just see Cisco having a few technical issues. But because John Elmsweimer is going to be sort of a few seconds back, Laville, sorry, is going to be a few seconds back, he's still got time to make up. But Elmsweimer, he's going to struggle to catch because he is one of the fastest drivers on the circuit at the moment. Fastest lap, 135.9, fastest driver on the circuit at the moment. So while Cisco is getting back into the commentary booth, we are going to go RaceSpot fan immersion on board with the number 88 machine of John Elmsweiler. welcome back to RaceSpot TV. You were just riding on board a lap of the Motegi, twin ring Motegi, on board with the 88 machine of John Elmsweiler, who is challenging for second place from Robert Grosser in the number 1 machine. Robert Grosser, the organiser of the Classic IndyCar Series, with Lucas Laville just a few seconds back. As you see, Elmsweiler going to go at the inside into turn 10. He's going to get the move done on Robert Grosser. Robert Grosser is going to drop down into third. Is he going to be able to challenge coming down into the end of the straight? He is. He's going to move down to the inside. Let's see what he can do coming down into the 90-degree corner. Not too much. Elmsweiler is just going to be much later on the break. So Robert Grosser is going to drop down to third, and Cisco is back with us.
Yeah, I am, and Elmsweiler was able to close up that gap, and we saw them starting to accordion together, so an excellent job done by Grosser, at least for the moment, to hold off Elmsweiler, but that's going to change very soon.
It certainly will, and just add Lucas Laville into the mix. This race is going to get a lot more exciting. The number 10 machine still on a charge, one of the, I believe, fastest car again last time round, so let's see what he can do just in the coming laps. So as I just pull up my timing screen once again, John Elmsweiler is still our fastest lap, and Lucas Laville was about half a second quicker than the both of them. So, as we see, Elmsweiler has gone off, Robert Grosser has gone back up to second, Lucas Laville has gone off as well. So the spin for the number 88 machine of John Elmsweiler, and let's get a replay up on screen of that. Looks as though he just maybe got on the power a bit too early again. The traction of Motegi strikes again, and yes, it was just too much power, not enough grip, and that is somewhere where you're always going to go spinning into the kitty litter, and he is going to be dropping down into 8th position, losing a lot of time. Cater Spongback as well onto pit road in the 67 machine. So the 88 of Elmsweiler down into second. Robert Grosser is going to, or down into 8th, sorry. Robert Grosser is going to be up in second. Sam Sanders is going to be up into third, and that will, who got past Lucas Laville when he made his mistake. So Laville has got another position to make up, then he's going to be on the podium, Cisco.
So bad night turns worse for Elmsweiler here, going to lose all that time, and we got to look at that second replay, and all it was, as we mentioned over and over again, that you can't, the grip on when you're trying to exit these corners because of that Japanese tarmac. It's so hard for these cars to find grip because of how much power they have, not as much downforce, keep in mind, as the DW12s, and that makes a huge difference. And I was kind of surprised to see Caden Spongback come down pit road, so I'm wondering if maybe a differing strategy for the number 67, maybe trying something different out of the playbook for that driver. But either way, this basically allowed for Grosser to open up a gap a little bit to Laville. He'll be able to tell when Laville gets past and starts getting close, but Laville has not been able to close up that gap too much. Went from 6 seconds last time we checked in to about 7.5, 7.7 right now being shown. So he is losing a lot of time to our lead driver of Dalladone. Dalladone, an excellent job leading the way here.
Dalladone is untouchable so far in this race. Now we can get close to him in the 98 machine. He's just a star of the class, fastest car last time round, one of the only 2 cars in the 30s, or 3 cars, sorry, in the 36s. So a couple of cars just making their way back through the field. David Cicello going to make up for the bad luck he had early on, and the same with Hans Pitkänen, just trying to get back some time on the positions that he lost. But at the moment, Alessandro Dalladone out in front. Not really much to say about him other than he is storming away and leaving everyone behind because everyone else is battling for position. As we see, Lucas Laville is getting some heat from Timo Siniemi behind, but he's also trying to give it to Sam Sanders in front, so we've got a 3-way battle for third here, Cisco.
Yeah, this could be a very interesting battle between these guys because it's really going to come down to a factor of who's going to be able to make the move and make it stick. We saw that Grosser was able to have an excellent defense for the most part.
Oh, we've got Timo Siniemi off behind Laville. Sorry about that, Cisco, but he just took too much speed into the final 2 corners and just looks like he lost the rear end trying to get it slowed down for the second part coming through victory corner 10, number 14. So Timo Siniemi is going to be round. He's rejoined now, but he has lost a lot of time down into P number 8. And around 10 seconds back from where he was. So 10 seconds lost on that lap for Timo Siniemi, and Lucas Laville is going to stay 4th, but that promotes Hans Pitkänen up into 5th, and Henry Bennett as well on the charge back from his poor qualifying is now in 6th.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, that slick tarmac, that Japanese tarmac, the difference it can make. You just saw it right there, what can happen when things go wrong. We've seen it a couple times today, but that was a perfect example, and you would think the 30 had no reason to spin off. I mean, it looked like the car was loaded up correctly, but this is that slippy tarmac, just a little too much speed, and that's all it took to shake that car off the racing groove and into the kitty litter once again. So Yemi falls back to 8th, right around where John Elmsweiler fell when he fell off the track. So kind of a similar area here, and that means those two are probably going to be a little bit close together. Elmsweiler, though, actually Henry Bennett going to fall off track, and that's going to let Elmsweiler in the 88 get past the number 41 of Henry Bennett, and Bennett goes off track, a little bit of dirt on the tires as well.
Yeah, just Henry Bennett is going to take a few corners there to just clean his tyres off to get back up to the pace he was. But Elmsweiler in the 88 back up into, making up field now, or making up position, sorry, he's going to be up into the 6th position. Lucas Laville, though, has to be our star so far, up 13 positions on where he started in P number 4. He's lost some time to Sam Sanders actually in P number 3. Sanders has just been able to pull away, create a gap. He's now got about 1.3 seconds, and then it's about 3 seconds further ahead is going to be Robert Grosser in 2nd, and then 4 seconds further ahead is Alessandro Dalladone in 1st in the 98. So your top 5 is currently covered by just over 10 seconds, and John Elmsweiler is going to be, or Elmsweiler is going to be wanting to get back in the mix of this and get back challenging for podiums.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to remind you that coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live is brought to you by Logical Innovative Engineering, the official sponsors of this coverage. We'll hear more about them in a little bit, but we'll, until then, keep an eye on the race going on at the moment and picking it. A little bit of lockup out of the 8 car. You can see the smoke kind of come off the tires, and kind of at the point of the race now where the tires, the good out of the tires for the most part is gone, especially for guys like Elmsweiler and Yemi who have fallen off the racetrack. They're just trying to save what tires they do have left. The rest of these guys starting to fight that tire degradation as the run goes on.
Yeah, tire degradation is going to be something we need to watch. Lap times are already starting to fall away slightly, so the tyres are obviously starting to get a little bit worn out. Obviously, one thing we haven't looked at today, Cisco, is the weather. We've got more or less clear skies, 28 degree track temperature, but 28 degree air temperature, but 47 degrees of track temperature. I've never seen a track temperature that high, Cisco, and that is definitely going to be playing into how much grip these cars have and also the tyre degradation.
For those of you wondering what that is in SI units, that's 117 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is steaming out there on the hot Japanese tarmac, and that's contributing to a lot of the slickness here. As you can see, the leader actually get a little bit loose. It's Dalladone. It's going to get a little bit loose, and slick is that 98, and he's starting to lose the tire. The tire's starting to degrade as well in that machine.
Yeah, I think everyone's just starting to struggle with grip and tire degradation. You're going to be needing tyres on every single stop in this race to make sure you can get to the end. Lucas Laville also, I think, has made up some time on Sam Sanders as well, just keeping that gap about the same, about 1.5 seconds at the moment. Just keeping it nice and steady. Laville maybe not being able to make up any time, which obviously just runs wide coming through 3 and 4 there. Obviously just, again, struggling for grip on this tarmac. This tarmac is not taking any prisoners today.
No, so it's going to be a battle of finesse, it looks like, for these drivers. And Sam Sanders starting to pull away from Laville a little bit. That gap has fallen to 8 seconds now between Laville and the lead here. So we mentioned, as far as where you are sitting position-wise, no, the grid penalty really didn't matter that much for Laville. But time-wise, it took a huge chunk out of what Laville can actually do in this race. He's okay on the point standings for now, but if I was Laville, I'd be hoping I would be running maybe 2nd.
Yeah, I think Laville will want to be probably ahead of Robert Grosser to make sure that he has the advantage in the point standings. Points is going to mean everything to these two coming into these final few races. Obviously, Robert needs some very good luck, and Lucas needs some very bad luck for Robert to be able to do anything. Henry Bennett, I think, he's a little bit too far back to be able to stay in this championship fight. At the moment, he's in it, but he needs to really get his foot down and get some positions back. He's currently sitting in P number 7 and just not showing what he needs to be able to get back towards the front of this championship. He's quite a few points back anyway, so he's got a very slim chance. I think maybe Motegi just isn't his day, maybe he hasn't got the car set up right, we're not really sure, but Henry Bennett is struggling today, not where we usually see him. Lucas Laville, obviously, we usually like to see him up at the front leading, but obviously rear of grid penalties cost him time-wise. He's currently 8 seconds back from the leader. He's doing around the similar lap times. Actually, he was faster than the leader on that lap by, probably because of the moment Dalladone had coming out of turn 1. But Lucas Laville just not being able to make up any time on Sam Sanders in 3rd.
No, he isn't. And Sanders, despite what we saw earlier in the race, doing an excellent job keeping an eye or keeping a handle on that number 59 and keeping that car on track. So everything looking good right now for that 59. And Robert Grosser, meanwhile, has kind of just been sitting about 2.5 seconds off the lead. He's been there for quite a while, hasn't really challenged for the lead, but hasn't been pushing the car as much. So for Grosser, I think this is a case of, I think he's trying to go for the long con here. Of course, a very good weekend for points if he can have it. Sitting second, he's 48 points back behind Lucas Leveille after factoring in the drop week. So assuming this weekend goes well for him, he may be able to start making up that gap. After this race, they'll only have 2 races left. Both of them are ovals, and that should help Grosser out a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's just going to be, we're going to go to Kentucky for the second to last round, and then Las Vegas for the final round of the series. So Robert Grosser, I think we know he's quick on the ovals, we know he's quick on the road. He's sort of one of the guys in the championship who is quick on both. Lucas Leveille and Henry Bennett are the same. But I think we're going to see the likes of Michele Constantini. He is going to come in and upset things come the final 2 oval races. He has been outstanding on the ovals so far this season, and I think he's going to be back for the final 2 rounds. Obviously, they do have a split championship in this, so they have an oval, a road, and then a combined. Lucas Leveille is leading the combined, and I believe Constantini is leading the oval Cisco. So Constantini wants to come back and win the oval, but Lucas Leveille will want the combined.
Yeah, as it sits right now in your road championship, Leveille currently leads Grosser 3 wins to 1 win, 192 points to 183. So Grosser could kind of close that gap up a little bit if he can get the win here at Motegi. The problem is Leveille's only running 4th, so he's not going to lose that many points here. So we'll know more as that goes on. But this would be the conclusion of the road championship at the conclusion of this race. So keep in mind that's also on the line for these guys, and also on the line for the moment is that battle for that. Oh, I saw it just a moment ago, but apparently it got a lot more spread out. Your closest battle, actually between everybody else, there really isn't a whole lot of them going on at the moment. Everyone very spread out. Your closest, honestly, your closest cars right now are Robert Grosser and Sam Sanders and Lucas Leveille, and they're only about 1.5 seconds apart from each other. Maybe Johnny Garrett and Tim Hauser, but that's lap cars and not lap cars, so that doesn't really work either. So everybody very spaced out. It's becoming a time trial out there almost in a way, Jack. Gotta hit those perfect lines, gotta hit your apex so you aren't losing and hemorrhaging time to the leader. And that's what happened to Robert Grosser. He was able to gain up a little bit of time on the leader when that mistake happened, but apart from that, it's now went from 2 seconds to 3.7. Deladone is just driving away.
Yeah, obviously, just looking at the points championship for the road, there is only 9 points between Leveille and Grosser in the road championship. So it's essentially whoever finishes in front of each other. Okay, maybe Lucas Leveille's got it in the bag as long as he stays reasonably close to Robert Grosser. Obviously, 2nd and 4th. I think Lucas Leveille is going to come away with the road championship if it stays as it is, but it's definitely not going to. Positions are going to change before the end of this race. Long way still to go. 43 laps still remaining after this one. We're only on lap 20, remember, ladies and gentlemen, so Lucas Leveille has still got a long way to go to be able to take this championship. So at the moment, Robert Grosser is going to be sitting in 2nd. He looks though maybe he's going to be in pole position for taking that road championship, but Lucas Leveille in 4th is definitely going to want that instead, and he is going to be fighting all the way to the end for it.
Yeah, it's a difference of 10 points that are paid out based on 1st and 2nd, and that's ultimately going to be the case where if, you know, we throw in a couple bonus points, there is a bonus point for leading the most laps and the pole position. So right now that's going to be in favor of neither of them because Deladone had the pole there, so it's going to go to the most laps led, and right now Deladone also owning that one, so it's going to come down to position. And the way they run right now, if Grosser would have come home 2nd, Leveille would have come home 3rd, it would be a difference of 40 points to 32 points, so an 8-point gap. It would be extremely close, but I think it might actually it might end up as a tie.
I think it might end up as a tie, and if we do, obviously it'll come down to wins, which Lucas Leveille will take. But Henry Bennett is going to be onto pit road. The 41 has come down onto pit lane for his stops, so pit stops are going to be starting very, very soon. But that could also mean, Cisco, that we have another angle to this race's strategy. If Henry Bennett is going to be doing 20 lap stints, he's going to need a splash and dash before the end. So can drivers get this first stint a little bit longer or the second stint a little bit longer to make sure they don't have to make that extra pit stop at the end?
If that's the case, I mean, it's going to mean breaking out that calculator a lot, I can tell you that much, because I like the strategy of every 20 because it allows you to put tires on this car. And we've seen already what this track can do to cars on old tires, you know, falling off the racetrack, going in the gravel trap, any number of things. It's so, unless you're extremely confident in that race car under you, I like this idea of coming down early and getting tires. Yeah, you have to splash and dash, but I'd rather have the fresh rubber on than trying to make the fuel stretch and maybe making a mistake and plowing into the kitty litter or something like that. Survey says Dalladone gonna buy into that strategy because he'll head down the short pit straight into pit road. So the leader in this time is that number 98 and looking for his pit stall.
Yeah, Dalladone is going to come down onto pit lane for his first stop. And what you're saying, Cisco, having the new rubber, obviously, even if you do splash and dash, you're still going to be on pit lane for around 20 seconds. So you have to have a 20-second advantage to make sure you don't, especially if you're the leader like Dalladone, you need a 20-second lead to be able to afford to splash and dash. So I think come the end of the race, the strategy is going to be fuel over tyres, and that is definitely going to be a sensible one. So he just comes out onto pit lane. We're going to see Dalladone 8.6 second stop, 29.2 seconds spent on the lane, going to come back out in 8th position. Obviously we need to see what other people do to be able to take into factor all the pit stops. We don't really know how long the stint lengths are. We don't know whether they're pitting early because of the tyre degradation, which could be possible, Cisco. So let's just see what happens after this first round of pit stops.
The way I'm reading this, I mean, yes, you do lose all that time on pit road, but just it stands to reason that anytime you lose on pit road is going to be moot if you end up spinning this thing out, because you're going to lose at least half that time. I mean, we saw Dalladone lose 3-4 seconds back to Lucas Leveille and to the rest of the field when all he did was just the car got a little bit loose and he had to catch it. He didn't go off track or anything like that. So that's how much time is apparent here. So I like the idea of coming down, getting that fresh tires. We'll have to see though what the lap times look like. I mean, your best lap I've seen is a 35.9 versus, you know, stuff like a 36.4 or 36.6, I should say. So it is conceivable that you're probably not going to make that up on tires alone, but if it's worth risking so I don't spin off, it's not a bad idea if I don't trust that car under me. But I also buy into the theory of, hey, you know, I don't want to lose 20 seconds on pit road coming down to get fuel.
I think drivers up the front of this field, especially the likes of Lucas Leveille and Robert Grosser, are going to be thinking more, actually, I don't want to lose the time on pit lane. They will be quite happy to take the risk because they know that they need all the points they can get. If Lucas Leveille has a splash and dash, he loses the championship. Robert Grosser has a splash and dash, he loses the championship. So the strategy is riding on this championship. At the moment, if they can go as long as they are, we're obviously now on to lap 23, they can get to the end on 2 stops. The likes of Alessandro Dalladone, they might have to do 3 because of that earlier pit stop. We just don't know. I would expect to see them go to about lap 25 on the fuel stints, but let's just see how the tyres last instead. Obviously, lap times again, although saying that, lap times aren't really dropping off. The leaders are still doing 136s, which makes me think actually they're saving their tyres over and saving fuel.
Yeah, and it's not a bad strategy, Jack, and we'll have to see how it pans out, but we do want to remind you that coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering is brought to you by, go figure, Logical Innovative Engineering. Logical offers professional solutions to satisfy the needs of sim racers everywhere. With the help of a passionate professional team, they have created several tools that easily adapt to a sim racer's needs, including their way of driving, reacting, and feeling. Logical intend for you to experience each lap, each acceleration, each turn like never before, to make it feel like you are in a real race car. Logical, proud sponsor of the Classic IndyCar Series. And speaking of, Robert Grosser, he's in pit stop time for the number 1.
Yeah, Robert Grosser is going to come in, take tyres, and his car is going to go back down. Now, John Emsweiler is going to be in as well in the 88 machine. Robert Grosser is going to be moving. Long stop from here. They're 11.2 seconds, just 3 seconds longer than Alessandro Dalladone. So
that's fuel,
I think that's fuel. So I think Dalladone is going short on this stint.
So he might do the splash and dash, or go figure the splash and dash now, and that way he doesn't have to come down again. He pit early to get on those tires, so that way it's going to be just full fuel stops for the 98 from here on out. And that's not a bad idea considering he was already out of traffic, but if he came down the same time everyone else is, he might have gotten stuck in it. So now he's on an alternate strategy. It's going to force these guys have to figuring out when they're going to come down pit road. I like the call by the 98.
Yeah, I do. I think this is going to add another completely different view to this race from the number 98 of Dalladone. He is on a completely different strategy to anyone else. But as we say that, Lucas Laville is now within a second of Sam Sanders. Sam Sanders currently leading this race, although yet to pit. Same with Lucas Laville. So see if they come down onto pit lane. Lucas Laville might be able to front or jump him in the pit lane. Sanders is going to come down to the pit lane. So is Lucas Laville. They're both going to follow each other in. We don't have a repeat of what we saw last year in the Neo Endurance Series with Coanda and I can't remember the other team, where we had side by side onto pit lane, which was brilliant. We're going to see that again in December when Neo returns to Motegi. But going back to this race, Lucas Laville stops, and let's see where Sam Sanders stops as well. He's come to a stop now. Let's have a look at these pit times. Is Lucas Laville going to be able to make the jump in pit lane? He might do, he might not.
I believe leapfrog was the word you were looking for there, Jack. But nonetheless, Laville, it's exactly what he's going to do. They're going to be side by side, the 59. A little bit of a surge out of his pit box there. Laville right on the gearbox here as they leave and merge back onto the racetrack here. Only traffic's going to be John Elmsweiler. He's been out there on tires, so he'll be able to have a little bit of advantage on these guys. It's been about a lap difference. Elmsweiler, his tires are up to temperature, whereas Laville and Sanders have to warm their tires up. And as we mentioned, we like the call by the 98 because guess what? He's back to P1 right now with a 7-second gap back to Robert Grosser in that second place position. So Dalladone, the strategy working, at least for the moment, for the 98. It's a huge gap for that leader at the moment.
Yeah, it is. He's got 8 seconds over Robert Grosser in second, so Dalladone has definitely played the pit stops to his advantage, but I think he's going to have some longer stops come to the end of this race. But then I think you could see, we've seen cars do 25 lap stints, 24 for 25 lap stints. So actually, I think Cisco, Dalladone has done a short pit stop now, but Robert Grosser and Lucas Laville, etc., they're going to be doing their slower pits or quicker pit stops later on in the race, which could be when they're faster, because there's more rubber on the track.
There's more rubber on the track, but also keep in mind that the 98, his bet is made at this point. If something happens, you know, he can't gain any more time on pit road than what he's done here. That bet is made. So whereas Grosser, some of the rest of these guys, if something happens, they know they have that crutch of the faster pit time being later on in the race to close up that gap. So it's kind of like a buffer zone. The question is, how long is that buffer zone? It's a decent amount of time on pit road, but the question is, will it be enough to get back what is essentially a 7.5 second gap? I'm not really sure.
No, I'm not either, and I don't think they're going to be able to do 7.5 seconds over the course of the race. Robert Grosser has got to be on it all the time, just doing consistent lap times to keep that gap consistently. The pit stop was 2.5, 3 seconds quicker for Dalladone. But as we just see, Lucas Laville and Sam Sanders in the 59, they're going to go head to head. I've got my eye on that battle at the moment, not really much going on. Laville gets really close, and they've got pressure from behind. John Elmsweiler wants a bit of this as well, so three-way battle for third coming up. Lucas Laville looking for a gap, just not being able to get it at the moment. Sam Sanders is doing a brilliant job of defending from the championship leader in the number 10 car. So Cisco, this is a battle which we've got to keep our eye on, but at the moment Dalladone doing a certain job in the lead.
Yeah, Dalladone is kind of out there on his own, so we're going to stay with this battle. Lucas Laville going to look to maybe driver's right this time. Yeah, he's going to peek out there, diving in hard on the brakes. Is going to go the 10. They'll go side by side. 59 got loose, and that's all it took. He's around, and around past him goes Elmsweiler in that number 88 machine. So John up a position. It was all Sanders just losing the back end. That's all it took. That car got around, and he'll lose 2 positions right there.
Yeah, Lucas Laville going to be promoted up into third position on the podium after having a rear of grid penalty, and he's done that in the first half of the race. That is a sterling drive from Laville to recover back, but his next target is Robert Grosser, just 4 seconds up the road. He can see him as Grosser now goes into turn number 1. So let's see what Laville can do in the remaining laps of this race.
Yeah, Laville going to have to close in that gap here. And the problem is he's got Elmsweiler right on his tail here. And, you know, Adair Saunders is going to be lap traffic here and maybe getting the groove a little bit. We'll have to see if he gets out of the way of these cars. But Elmsweiler right now, this could be his best opportunity. If he uses that lap car, maybe a little bit of a pick and maybe traps Lucas Laville off driver's line, that might be able to be enough for Elmsweiler to be able to make that move. But Laville has very good power off the corner.
Yeah, he does. Laville knows how to get the grip in these cars off the corner. and he has shown that so far today, and I'm sure he will in the remainder of this race. So Neville is definitely the person to look at if you want tutorials on how to get grip here at Motegi on Japanese tarmac and how to get the best out of the car. He's already slightly made an inroads into Robert Grosser's lap. While they're saying that, it's still 4 seconds, but he's got pressure from behind from the area of Emsweiler on the recovery drive from his mistake earlier on in the race, which dropped him down to 8th. So let's see what we do coming down into the hairpin. No, not anything going to happen.
Nope, it's going to be, they're very close together, but nothing going to happen right there. And Emsweiler going to lose a little bit of time to Lucas Laville as they head through the S's. He'll gain it a little bit back, but that T-Mobile Honda is just very good off the corner. I do want to remind you that in just over 10 minutes, flip over to iRacing.com's YouTube channel as McLaren's world fastest gamer round number 1 from Suzuka gets set to take part. You can join Will Vincent, Paul Smith, Jake Sperry, Randy Cheneth as they bring you all the action from that. That starts at the top of the hour on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing.com. That's then. We'll stay tuned here on RaceSpot TV. Here we're staying with CIS through the end of this thing, and right now Dalladone continuing to open up that gap. It's now 8.3 seconds back to Robert Grosser sitting in P2 right now. Lucas Laville, you know, he's back in that 3rd position, but Emsweiler, who held that position previously, is going to try and get past that number 10 if he can, but the 10 looks pretty hooked up for the moment, not able to get past. Everybody else pretty spread out for the most part through this field. So your closest battle actually is going to be between that car in 3rd and that car in 4th, I should say, because the guy in 2nd, Robert Grosser, he's got nobody around him. The guy in 1st, he's just passing lap cars right now as Dalladone just went past James and Payne and Jos van der Ven.
Yeah, Dalladone doing a sterling job again in the lead. Not really much more to say about him other than he's leading. He's just been out in the front. He's led it from the start as we see Emsweiler getting really close to the back of Laville, coming down into turn number 11 for the 28th time, coming down into 12, 13 and 14. Lucas Laville looks like he's trying to hold him up coming through the final 2 corners. Don't blame him there, just trying to get the jump off the final corner that he needs. New fastest lap going to the number 98 machine of Alessandro Dalladone, 135.922 that time round. So he is definitely the fastest car out on circuit at the moment. No one else can get close to him in lap times. Quite a few cars in the 36s and in the 37s. So 36 and 37 lap times seem to be the place to be. But Alessandro Dalladone really showing his pace with a 35.9.
Everybody settling down for a gentle cruise here at Twin Ring Motegi. One car just getting past was the 82 of Johnny Garrett. And I'm going to look back and see if we can find out what happened to the 82. Oh, he's been in a little bit of a battle right now with David Costello, so we'll go with those guys for a little bit. And that was the driver, the number 12, who was able to get past Garrett. See if we can get a replay for you. And that happened on the final corner as they got onto the straightaway, and we talk about finding grip. The 82 did not. Got off into the dirt a little bit. That's all it took for Costello to blast on past the Geico machine.
Yeah, David Costello again on a recovery drive from mistake earlier on in the lap. So just making sure that he can get his way past the cars safely and nicely. Let's just have a look at the instant which we saw here. Just looks as though the car of, I believe that Johnny Garrett just ran wide coming out of the final corner, and Costello went straight up the inside. So easy move there for Costello. He's going to be promoted up into P number 9, but Garrett isn't going to let him go. He's to P number 10. Timo Sinyemi going to be down in P number 11. He had a long pit stop, an 18-second stop. We'd like to know why, so maybe had a little bit of damage he had to repair. So the number 30 is going to be down into P number 11 here at Motegi. Usually seeing Isinyemi up at the front of the field, but not today. He's down outside of the top 10.
Yeah, asleep right now is the driver of the number 30. We just got to look at that pass, and that's, you know, aerodynamics, tire grip, it's all in play here, and that's exactly what happened. Garrett hasn't let Costello get out of his sights, though. He's lost a little bit of time, but he's still there in case Costello makes a mistake or something like that. So this, you know, it's not quite over yet, but it is starting to fade for Garrett. At this point, he needs Costello to maybe run into some traffic here or something to happen for that driver if something will happen. Same kind of dealio for Emsweiler and Laville at this point, because Laville's starting to pull on Emsweiler as well, and he's starting to fall back and might eventually fall into the clutches of Sam Sanders in that 59.
Yeah, Robert Grosser is starting to get a gap. Lucas Laville as well. Gap is now out to nearly 5.5 seconds. So Laville is just not being able to keep the pace that he needs to be able to keep up with Grosser, although as it stands, Laville will take the road standings away here at Motegi. Obviously, this is the final road race of the Classic IndyCar season of 2017, all to play for here. But Laville at the moment, he's showing his colours. He is definitely going to take this championship. He needs some bad luck to be able to lose it now. He's sitting in third. He's just banging consistent laps, getting in the laps, getting through it. Just 33 to go, reaching the halfway point very soon, Cisco. This race is going to get very close to the 2-hour time limit, I feel.
Yeah, it's gonna be borderline, but either way they'll make it work. 33 at the line right now is gonna be Dalladone, takes it right there, and actually he's gone past that for a while here. So 32 point, how about 32.8? My lap ticker doing right now. That's how many laps we have left to go in this thing. Lucas Laville sitting in a position, if he maintains this third place position, he'll lock up the road course championship for the Classic IndyCar Series with 3 wins, because it's only a 5-point difference between second and third, and with bonus points not going either to Grosser or Laville unless there's a penalty, this is going to be basically job done for Lucas Laville. Just keep the car in the straight line, going the correct way, and he should be good to go. Meanwhile, Robert Grosser has just been caught up in all sorts of traffic. The next car on his docket is going to be James Payne in the number 19 machine.
Yeah, James Payne is obviously down towards the back of this field. Getting his bonus match is, it looks like, is that Alessandro? No, who are we looking at, Cisco? I
Grosser.
Lost my train of thought. Robert Grosser. And he has got past Payne in the number 19 car, nice and easily coming into turn number 9. He just moved over for him. That's one of the nice things we like to see about backmarkers in this series. They do make way for the leaders, they do let them through, so there's always that common courtesy and the respect between drivers in this series, which is what we like to see. But Emsweiler really getting close to the back of the Laville there.
Yeah, he started picking up time again as the driver of the number 88, so he's going to look, we'll see how he gets through the acute right-hander here, and he's finding a lot of speed, whereas Laville's been very good corner off, Emsweiler has been very good corner in. So kind of contrasting the two, and it's making it work. But also going purple yet again is Dalladone. His car spun as they went past him. It was James Payne. That was a terrible place for him to be sitting, and he lost it off the last corner there. That was almost disaster for some cars there.
Yeah, it just looks as though he lost it on his own. No contact with the wall, no contact with anyone else. It's just, there is a gap obviously for cars to get through, but he's precariously sat. He's moving again now, coming down to turn 1, but no one managed to collect him. Thank God for that. So at the moment, it looks as though Dalladone has gone fastest again. He's done 2 fastest lap in 2 consecutive laps. Cisco, he went 1:35.776 and then 1:35.691. He's getting quicker as the fuel drains and the tyres get older.
Yeah, and now a case where Emsweiler once again in position to battle with Laville here. He's able to close that gap up, so maybe Laville becoming a little passive here as the run goes on, because he's allowed that 88 back into the slipstream range, and it could be a question if Emsweiler wants to dive it in. He may have the opportunity to do so before the end of this thing as they make through these left-handers, and now up the hill. When they get to the hairpin, it'll be back down the hill here at Motegi. That could be where Emsweiler makes his move, either that, or maybe even on the front stretch.
Yeah, Emsweiler is just going to be coming down the back straight down into turn number 11 at the moment in the 88 machine. Lucas Laville currently sitting in third, defending, doing a sterling job, and also not dropping. He's actually gaining as well on Robert Grosser in second, so Emsweiler got very close there coming down to turn number 11 down through 12. 13, just not close again. He seems to be good on the brakes, but Lucas Laville seems to be get away from him on the exit of the corners. Laville maybe just got a little bit more downforce, a little bit more grip on that rear end, which just lets him get the car away out of the corners, which is what you need here at Motegi because of that tarmac.
Yeah, absolutely. Laville has got that car dialed in on corner exit, but we're going to see if we can hop on for a little bit of RaceSpot TV fan immersion, see if we can hop on board that 88 who's been trying to track down Lucas Laville. See if we can ride around with him for a lap here at Twin Ring Motegi. So as they take it under the bridge here just past the right-hander, we're going to step aside, take a moment. Let's go on board with that number 88. We'll be right back. as Emsweiler comes under the bridge, we bring you back here to live coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering right here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Cisco Scaramouza alongside Jack Stiles to bring you all the action we saw during the break. Emsweiler got a piece of the dirt, and that's all it took to lose a ton of time back to Lucas Laville, and that'll secure Laville, at least for the moment, to be sitting in that third position. Meanwhile, the gap between Dalladone and Grosser has grown. It is now 12.5 seconds. And Jack, I don't care how much time you're going to make up on pit road with the shorter stop, it's not 12.5 seconds.
No, it's certainly not 12.5 seconds. Robert Grosser, he needs to do that on the track to gain back that time. I just cannot see him doing it before the end of this race. So I think Dalladone at the moment setting another purple time. Gone fastest again. 1:35.551 for the leader on lap 34 there into the second half of the race now. Dalladone is untouchable today, Cisco. He's getting faster and faster. He's just getting used to the track, getting one with the track to make sure that the car just doesn't go spinning off into a wall.
And I mean, it's not to say the other drivers aren't doing that. Laville just set his fastest time, as did John Emsweiler. So those guys going at Emsweiler actually had a much faster lap. He had an 8 versus a flat by Laville, and you can see him start to reel in that number 10. So a very interesting take where it looks like these Firestone Firehawks, they're not falling off as much as we thought, despite how slick the tarmac is. It's because of that where we're seeing degradation, not in the tires themselves.
No, and I think that's one of the interesting things is, as the race is going on, the track is getting faster, Cisco. And whether that's just because we're getting a little bit more rubber down on the track, it just means that there's more grip. So, and then obviously you can get the power down a bit earlier, come through the corners, that's going to help. So, what's gonna happen is as the track rubbers in, as the track gets more rubber down, you're going to see faster lap times, you're going to see more traction come off the corner. Emsweiler going to get very close to the back of Laville, coming there through turn number 10, down to turn number 11, not going to get anything done there. And sit in the slipstream, probably not going to be able to get anything done under the brakes, just a little bit too far back. He's still about 3/10 back from the back of Laville. So Laville is going to hold third, he's doing extremely well to hold it so far from the challenge of John Emsweiler just behind. Robert Grosser is starting to pull out the gap to Robert Grosser is staying at around 4 seconds between Grosser and Laville. Laville can still see him, Cisco, and that's going to be a big push for Laville to catch that second place car.
It's a big push, but I mean, it's still a 4-second gap. Laville will probably be looking at the relative timing to try and see where he is on track versus the rest of these guys to see if he is making up time. But I don't think he's far enough away, and there's enough lap traffic where I don't think the visual element's going to be quite enough for Laville. It'll motivate him for a little bit, but I don't think it'll do too much here in terms of motivation for Laville. I think Laville's more worried about that guy right behind him at the moment. So Emsweiler kind of taking up, I would assume, the mind of Lucas Laville here, because this is very much a championship scenario here. If something happens between this battle between Laville and Emsweiler, that opens up this championship for Robert Grosser to come in and steal it from Lucas Laville. If he lost one position, that's all that happened. It would be tied. Laville would still have it, but you don't want to risk that. If he can win this to the point where he doesn't have to worry about the tiebreaker, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, Laville is definitely going to want to be coming away from here with a points lead and not have it done on a tiebreaker. We have seen championships in all form of motorsports decided on tiebreakers in the past. It's happened in Formula 1, it's happened right down to grassroots level. So Laville is definitely going to want to take a points advantage away, even if it is only 1 or 2 points. He only needs to drop down to 5th for Robert Grosser to take the points championship. That's how much is at stake. And the gap back to 5th is only 12 seconds. So Laville literally needs 1 spin, 1 off track, 1 unlucky moment, and the road championship is gone for him. Still a long way to go here, 27 laps remaining. Robert Grosser, all he's got to do is same again. He's just got to keep it on the track. If not, he's going to throw any chance at winning away. But Laville at the moment is the man with the biggest amount to lose.
So we'll leave these guys to battle for a little bit, because since we're past halfway, let's take you through the field here for the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering Alessandro Dalladone currently leads in that number 98. Remember, he had his fast pit stop earlier, so that gap will shrink because these guys are banking on having to make a shorter stop at the end of this thing, but keeps increasing that gap. Dalladone basically out there by a landslide. We would need something to happen to the 98 catastrophically to take this race away from him. Robert Grosser currently runs in that second position right now, Jack, and he's done a very good job of kind of mediating that gap between himself and Leveille and kind of out there on his own.
Yeah, Grosser's got no one with him. He hasn't so far the points in this race, but at the moment he's just running on his own, navigating around lap traffic. Third position rounding out your podium is going to be Lucas Leveille at the moment, with John Emsweiler just behind. These two have been having a scrap for probably the last 10 laps, and I have a feeling they're going to take it for as long as they can, because Emsweiler's not letting Leveille go, and Leveille won't let Emsweiler go if he does get past. So these two are going to be embroiled in the battle for the rest of this race. Fifth is Sam Sanders. We saw him up at the front. He's down just one position on where he started in fourth position, but he has been running as high as second so far today. Hans Pitkinen is going to be in sixth, and Henry Bennett in seventh with a disappointing day. Dale Stanley is going to be in 8th. David Costello is going to be on a recovery drive. Dale Stanley and David Costello are actually quite close on the circuit, within sort of a second of each other, half a second of each other. So that could be a battle to keep our eye on. Cisco Johnny Garrett isn't too far behind them either. He's going to be running out your top 10 here at Motegi.
Yeah, and then 11th place running is Timo Isiniemi right now. The Finnish driver, the number 30, running P11. He had a spin-off earlier on. That basically sealed his fight for most of this race, being stuck kind of in the mid-pack. Tim Miller runs 12th right now. Just been a kind of stagnant day for the driver in the number 2. Only -1 position from where he started, so not a great day. And then we start getting into the guys who are laps down. Rory Collins in that 34, Jos van der Ven, Andrew Adair Saunders, James Payne, Keaton Bommerspatch, Randy Shoemake, TM Hauser, and then Louis Zambelli. That's the rest of your field. All those guys that I mentioned, all laps down, all basically done here. Well, they're done. I mean, they could still fight with each other, but their dreams of winning the race here at the Indy final at Japan, just not going to happen. So those guys back in your field, and a little bit of a battle starting to pick up here. That's not Leveille versus Emsweiler. It's been this battle between Sam Sanders and Pitikinen, Hans Pitikinen in that number 8. They've started to close up a little bit, and this will be interesting because if Hans can get a little bit closer here, get into that slipstream range, that might turn this into a battle on track, or if Sanders falls off track like what he just did, that'll do it even easier.
Yeah, Pitkinen is just waiting behind, waiting for that opportunity to get Sam Sanders. We've obviously seen Sanders, he's had his fair share of bad luck so far today. He has made a few mistakes and lost positions because of it. So Hans Pitkinen will want to be finding his way past it pretty soon. He's probably actually been held up by the number 59 Sam Sanders, but he is still about 10 seconds back from John Emsweiler in 4th position. So he's got a long way to make up before he gets up to fighting for podiums. So I think maybe Hans Pitkinen, the best he's going to get today is going to be 5th position, but Sam Sanders is definitely not going to give that up lightly. He will want that top 5 finish here at this Motegi race here in the Classic IndyCar Series. As we just see Pitkinen going to get close, maybe a little bit of lockup from one of the either two under the bridge, going to head up towards 130R. And no, I'm not getting confused with Suzuka. Motegi also has a 130R, which I've just learned today. So Hans Pitkinen going to be coming around 130R into the chicane and still sticking to the back of that number 50 car of Sam Sanders. But at the moment, Alessandro Dalladone doing a sterling job in the lead, leading this pack 15-second gap over Robert Grosser.
Yeah, and this battle with Pitkinen starting to pick up a little bit, but you mentioned Suzuka. That's because right now, live pictures starting to come in from the Suzuka racing circuit, or international racing course, I should say, as World Fastest Gamer is live right now on iRacing.com on their YouTube channel. The link's in the chat on the right side if you want to take a look over there. We'll stay with you here for the remainder of this Classic IndyCar race here at Twin Ring Motegi, and Dalladone down pit road right now. So coming in for his second stop is the driver of the 98, and fuel going in that machine right now, and away he goes. 11.7. That was a full fuel stop for Dalladone.
Dalladone taking full fuel here at Motegi. That is going to be the second stop of the race, the stop that gets him to the end. We're obviously now in the pit stop phase. We're within margin of the finish now, so I think drivers are going to be coming onto pit lane as quickly as possible to minimise the amount of time they have to spend refueling the car, because the more fuel they burn now, the more fuel they've got to replace, so the longer the pit stop is going to be. And for people like Leveille, Emsweiler, Sanders, Pitkinen, every 10th is going to count. and they're going to need every tenth they can to be able to get any more positions.
Yeah, every tenth is going to have to count for these guys, and you know it's gonna come down to a battle of how long these guys spend on pit road, and I don't think it'll be enough to overcome the leader on pit road, but these battles that we've talked about between Leveille and Elmsweiler and Pedikkinen and Sanders, you know, those battles are stuff that can be decided on pit road. And that battle that was Pedikkinen and Sanders, that's now a 3-car battle because Deladone came right in the middle of it, literally right in the middle of this battle, as Timo Isoniemi going to pull his car behind the pit wall, Knight over for the number 30, so he's parked it for that race. And Pedikkinen, you could see the difference it made because he's lost all this time to Sanders, and I'm not sure if that's just had the nose chopped off or he's just lost time.
I think Pedikkinen has just lost time. We will find out in just a moment's time. Maybe he just didn't get the traction down, or Sanders maybe just managed to use traffic to his advantage to get a gap. So Pedikkinen has lost any chance that he had on Sanders there, as he's just going to cross the line to start lap number 41 of 63. So we're starting to approach the last third of this event. It will be in the last third once everyone has come down onto pit lane and done their second stop. So at the moment, Leveille and Emsweiler are probably going to be one of your closest battles on track, but also looking a bit further down into your field, P8 and 9, Dale Stanley and Davis Estelle 38 and 12. I'm going to keep my eye on these guys for a bit because they have been fighting for the last few laps for position number 8. These two both familiar names to the Classic IndyCar series. So Dale Stanley in the 38, Davis Estelle in the 12. Let's see what these guys can do in the remaining 22 laps.
Yes, Estella trying to close in on Dale Stanley here in the number 38. Stanley's been up 2 positions since he started 10th, is running 8th right now. Costello down 2, so it'll be kind of going from it'll set these guys to +1 and -1 if they pass each other. Stanley doing an excellent job right now on track. And how about Henry Bennett trying to recover from the off track that he had? And a decent recovery for him. He's up 5 spots right now, so hey, it's not bad at all for that driver of the 41, sitting 7th right now in front of those guys. But that battle, as you mentioned, starting to get a little bit closer. We saw Costello run into some problems earlier. That car got spun out, but now is back on track and hunting down the driver of the 38.
Yeah, more importantly, we have the 88 down onto pit lane. The battle for second has now become a battle on pit lane. Let's see who can have the quicker pit stop time. It's going to be Emsweiler because he's going to be pitting. I'd expect Lucas Leveille to come onto pit lane next lap to counter the pit stop of John Emsweiler. He's going to be dropping down the positions down to 6th. Where is Henry Bennett? Is he going to get past? Yes, he is, down into 7th there. The battle between Dale Stanley and Davis Costello is not going to be... He's going to be too far behind to be able to make up. So Emsweiler is moving again. He had a 9.9 second stop. That is fuel to get him to the end. Needs just 22 laps of fuel to complete this race. Let's see what Leveille and Robert Grosser do. They're going to be rounding, coming through about 10, 8 and 9 just about now. So let's see what they do this time round. Cisco, this could get a very interesting battle on pit lane.
Yeah, it could be a very interesting battle on pit lane. One car, a little bit of an off-traffic excursion. It was James Payne. He got a little bit off into the dirt, so interesting problems for that driver, but he'll be able to hold on to it. And now Leveille is closing in, as you mentioned, so this is going to be a battle. These guys going to have to hit pit road here. 18.7, Grosser's going to have to do it here pretty soon because he's on 18.8 right now on his stint. Leveille a lap behind. He can afford to stay out there, but the problem is he'll probably lose time to Emsweiler if he does that. So if I'm Leveille, I think now would be an excellent time to come down pit road, but no, it's not going to happen. He's going to stay out, try and stretch the fuel here. That means maybe a little less fuel you have to put in, or maybe just trying to stretch it to that last stop, Jack. Either way, that's the game plan for these guys. If I'm Leveille, conceivably, if I can make it to lap 20, it's going to make this a whole lot easier. I come down in about a lap.
Yeah, and another thing is Robert Grosser, the gap between Grosser and Leveille is down to 2 seconds now. Leveille can really see Grosser ahead. I've just noticed that looking at the timing screens, and also Robert Grosser itself out on the circuit. And these guys are definitely close on the circuit. Also, Robert Grosser and Lucas Leveille, the later they pit, the better condition their tyres are going to be at the end of the race, so the better lap times they're going to be able to put in. So I think it's also down to they're doing this because of tyres. If they can get these tyres to go for as long as they can, they'll get the next set of tyres to go for even, or they won't have to do as many laps, which means they can push them just that slight bit harder and get a little bit more time out of them. But Lucas Laville and Robert Grosser, that gap is very quickly coming down. Gap now down to 2 seconds. We could have a battle between these two, the two championship leaders at the end of this race.
That was Tim Hauser you saw off into the kitty litter when Lucas Laville and Robert Grosser drove by. That driver has had a very long day here at Motegi, Twin Ring Motegi, so he at this point just looking to salvage anything he can, but sitting one car away from the last spot on the grid. Not sure how much he's going to be actually able to do. He may be able to pass Eason Yami, who's pulled his car behind the wall for the final time today. So that might be the only car Hauser's going to be able to pass before the end of this thing. Not the day the driver of the 56 was looking for. And meanwhile, green flag flies in the world's fastest gamer. So once again, your final reminder, if you want to go watch that, switch over to iRacing.com's YouTube channel. You can catch the full round number 1 qualifier from Suzuka over there. But right now, we're just waiting. Pit stops. When do you make them?
Well, it looks as though Robert Grosser and Lucas Laville haven't actually reached their full stint yet. They're only about 20 laps into their stint each, or 20 laps for Robert Grosser and 19 laps for Lucas Laville. So these guys are still relatively early in their stint compared to some other guys. Some other guys have been on their stints for 19 laps. There's James Payne, he's been on his for 17.7 laps. So a lot of guys who haven't pitted are going to be running to the full 25 laps, and that's only going to give them about 15 laps to the finish, which means they can take a lot less fuel and leapfrog some people in the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they can take less fuel, but the problem is it's 15 seconds back to Deladone, and they lose a good, you know, that pit lane time. The time they're on the lane alone is 30 seconds, not to mention the pit stop is going to be 11. Probably less time, maybe an 8-second, 9-second stop for those guys. So it's not looking good if I'm doing the math there. That doesn't look to go very well for those guys, and could be kind of doomed on their part and not maybe able to do anything here. It could be just Deladone GG. We're just not sure yet. It'll come down to those pit stops to really tell us what the story of this is going to be. But Grosser is in, the driver of the number 1, making his way down pit road, looking for his pit stall here. Laville gonna stay out. So one more lap going on there for the 10. I have to think this time, Styles, he's gonna be in.
I'm not sure. I think he's going to be running that fuel stint all the way to the end as far as he can. Robert Grosser's going to stop now. Is he taking tyres? I believe he is. Daladone's already got past. So Sam Sanders has got past as well, yeah. Cisco. So Robert Grosser has dropped down to 4th. Let's see what happens to Lucas Laville and see how that affects him.
Because the thing is, I don't think we're going to see a caution flag. Everyone's extremely spread out, so there's really no reason to throw it. So I think Laville here, if he loses about as much time as Grosser did, that could put Laville maybe behind Sanders, even Grosser. That'll put them back down to kind of 3rd and 4th where they were. Sam Sanders, though, an excellent job to kind of leapfrog Grosser here, but the thing is, Grosser going to have a little bit fresher tires, but then it comes down to tire wear, and we just haven't seen it today. So I'm kind of befuddled, but Sanders has just done an excellent job, and I'll tell you what, he's right there, right behind the leader. So, oh, that's why, because Sanders hasn't pit yet. That would be why.
No, that's very true. I've just spotted that as well. He is 21 laps into his
Never mind.
At the end of this lap. So Sam Sanders is still going to come down onto pit lane. Let's ignore me and Cisco and trust the timing screens more than anything. So Sam Sanders, although we're going, oh, look, he's up a bit further than we thought he would be. Yeah, he hasn't pitted yet. So he's going to drop down the order before long. So Robert Grosser, you can consider him in 2nd position, even though he's in 4th. And Lucas Laville is leading. Let's see what he does this time round. Does he come down onto pit lane? We're not sure. No, he doesn't. He carries on going for another lap. Lap number 22 of his stint. And Cisco, I think he's going to run all the way to the end of lap 25 of this stint and just push the fuel as far as he can.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. The problem is he's probably going to lose time to Grosser enough to where he'd probably come out behind the driver in the number 1 car. So Laville hemorrhaging a little bit of time, but he can afford to do it if he wants. So Laville taking a card out of the strategy book, so we'll just see how that has to go. And keep in mind, you know, Sanders also has to come down pit road. He could play a factor in this battle as well, depending on where he falls out. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But one thing to note, you know, instead of listening to us, you could be looking at live timing. What kind of live timing? Why not Joel Real Timing, the official timing sponsor of the classic IndyCar series here on RaceSpot TV. And Leveille right now looking at his timing stream, probably trying to figure out how long he has left before he has to come down pit road and make that final stop, and where he's going to come out versus the rest of these guys where they are on track.
Yeah, and obviously going back to what you said about Joel Real Timing, the winner of the Joel Real Timing Clean Award basically means the person with the least incident points at the end of the race will win a pro key of Joel Real Timing worth €15, and I recommend to anyone to get the pro version if you are either racing on iRacing or commentating or even running a team. It helps so much, and at the moment the person in pole position for that prize is going to be the number 34 car of Rory Collins, someone who we haven't even mentioned at all today, Cisco, down in pier number 11.
Yeah, an excellent job by the driver of the 34, so nice, clean, consistent race. He's our second biggest mover here. Leveille, obviously, he's up 16 spots as he sits right now. Probably be more like 14 once this race is over, but Collins, nice, consistent day, +8. Excellent job by the driver of the number 34, I should say, the Team Indiana car, that yellow, red, and blue machine. Excellent job all day long for him. A nice, clean day. Right now, as it sits, a very good shot again, that Joel Real Timing cleanest driver award is that driver. So we turn our attention back to the number 10 of Lucas Leveille, because we continue to wonder, when is the T-Mobile Target Chip Ganassi machine going to make its right-hand turn onto that access road for pit road? You said lap 25. I'd want a little bit more time to try and make up time, but he's going to have fresher tires when he comes out regardless. He may be able to take anything that he's sandbagging with and be able to put that full bore on that car. I'm just not sure here, Jack.
No, neither am I. I'm not really going to be sure until he has pitted. Another driver who hasn't seen onto pit lane is Sam Sanders as well. Is, you know, Lucas Leveille going to stay out for another lap, going on to lap number 23 of his stint. So he's definitely pushing this fuel as far as he can. Same with Sam Sanders, he's going to go on to lap 23 of his stint. So these two probably doing what the other driver should have done, and making that fuel stop as short as possible. But will they take tyres? Because the fuel stop is going to be shorter, they might not have time to have all 4 tyres done.
We'll just have to see. If it comes down to the tires, I think I'd want to take tires if I'm Leveille, knowing that I'm going to be losing so much time on pit road. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, we're not talking NASCAR pit stops here where you have to jack up the left side then the right. No, these are auto-jacked cars, so all you have to do, one lug nut, these wheels are off. So if I'm Lucas Leveille, if I'm, you know, Robert, or if I'm Sam Sanders, rather, it wouldn't be a bad idea. So, yeah, there's different strategies going on between those guys. And how about a little bit of a strategy battle? Dale Stanley and Hans Pittikinen right now going at it. And Stanley right now is on a 23. He's the other guy on this stay out for as long as humanly possible versus the guy who came down pit road. So this is where we can see right now, immediately on track, Jack, the difference between new tires and old tires. Right now, Henry Bennett, or I should say Hans Pittikinen, rather, is on newer tires, only 5-lap old tires. Stanley on 38-lap tires, and that's the difference right there. You see Pittikinen starting to close in, but not as dramatic as we thought.
No, certainly, and he's just, Pittikinen maybe just cannot find a way past, and it looks like there's a car going very deep into that corner behind Pittikinen. That is going to be the car of TM Hauser. He is quite a way down this field, 5 laps down, had his fair share of issues today. Usually someone who we see who is very competitive on the ovals, but just obviously not being able to find it today here at Motegi. But Pittikinen as well, he is challenging Dale Stanley, but he just cannot find a way past. And I believe Sam Sanders is down onto pit lane, and so is Lucas Leveille.
Yep, both of them are going to come down pit road, so the driver of the 10 leads the 2 drivers in, and already looking for his, yeah, he's out of the box already, so I forgot, his box is extremely early because he was back in the field. Survey says Deladone's gone by, and it's going to be side-by-side with Grosser. Immediately into the battle goes the driver of Lucas Leveille, and guys, we've got a show going on right now because Robert Grosser just about piled it into the back of the Target Chip Ganassi machine. Leveille able to hold on, but this will be a battle towards the end of this race. They come out right next to each other, so I thought it was going to be more spaced out. Not the case. Next to each other is 2nd and 3rd.
We've got a race on now for not only the championship, but also for second place here. We could see some tactics by Lucas Laville, very similar to the ones of Ayrton Senna back in 1990 at Suzuka. Obviously, the Japanese Grand Prix where he fired Nico Prost. Oh, as we say that, Lucas Laville has run into the back of Robert Grosser. Commentator's curse has struck again, and Laville has gone round. How many positions has he lost, Cisco?
He lost one.
He's down to 4.
That could be the championship.
That could be the championship. Let's see how this goes. If it goes to a tiebreaker, Lucas Laville's still going to take it on race wins, but he might have just thrown away the championship.
He did run into the back of him, so he could lose points based on penalties for incidents. So depending on where Laville's sitting, I have him sitting right here at 10 incidents, so he's good for the moment. If something happens where he goes to 14, he loses 5 points, and that would be the championship right there.
That would, and for Laville, that would be a heartbreak. He also has front wing damage, I believe, as well, so he's going to be losing front downforce on that number 10 machine, which is going to be unfortunate for him. But what we've just seen could be the championship. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be showing you is not only drama. We always see drama in the Classic IndyCar Series. We've seen it every race so far this season, and it's just got even more exciting because the championship has just been thrown on its head once again. Not in the way that we saw at New Hampshire, where we saw Lucas Laville and Robert Grosser tangle, and then Robert Grosser got taken out of the race altogether. But it's been thrown up in arms. What do we see in the way of incidents? I've got Lucas Laville on 11 incidents now, Cisco, so he's just 3 away from having that 5 penalty points, 3 away from losing the road championship.
And what a storyline it would be if he lost that road course championship. He got 3 wins in this series. This should not be a competition. The next guy down there is Grosser with 1 win. Laville should not be in this position, but as it is with most motorsports, this is what happens in the term of an entire season. Things go wrong, and for Laville, this could come down to every single lap having to be perfect for Laville to make sure something doesn't happen. He doesn't throw away this championship right at the end. He's been so close here, but for something like that to end it would be heartbreaking for that driver. He is closing in, though, on the driver of John Elmsweiler, and if he can get past Elmsweiler, he'd have room at that point. I mean, he'd still lose the championship if he got those 5 incident points, but it wouldn't go to the tiebreaker at that point.
No, it wouldn't. Robert Grosser would probably take the road championship, which would be such a shame because Lucas Laville, especially at the start of the season, he was on fire, car spinning around just ahead of him. That's John Elmsweiler. So is Lucas Laville going to get his way back up into 3rd? Yes, he is. Lucas Laville's going to get back into 3rd. That could be championship decider there. We don't know yet, Cisco. Still 13 laps to go. Anything could happen in the last 13.
Anything can happen. John Elmsweiler has lost that time now to Lucas Laville, so he's going to try and claw it back. Laville and Elmsweiler were fighting for so long in this race, and it looks like it's going to go back to it. Robert Grosser able to pull away after that incident from Laville. Laville's faster, but I just don't know if he can claw his way all the way back to Robert Grosser and be able to challenge with only 12.5 laps to go here. Alessandro Dalladone, we haven't shown him on screen for a while because he's just been out cruise control as the Italian driver right now. And it's been nice and easy for the driver in the 98. Hasn't had to worry too much. And just nice, clean laps is all he needs to bring home the race win here from Twin Ring Motegi.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. He's been doing a sterling job so far today, and he's going to carry on doing that for the rest of this race, I feel. Dalladone, no one's been able to touch him since the start. He just drove off. Even after the first 2 corners, he had a gap of about half a second. No one has got near him. And that is the qualities of a fantastic driver. Consistent, clean, and just out of this world. And that's what he needed to do to win this race. And he's done it, Cisco. And although we still have 12-13 laps left, he's in a good position to win this race.
A very good position to win this race right now, and the clock's starting to tick down, and Robert Grosser's running out of time for a miracle to happen for him to be able to grab the lead from this race and maybe change the championship, the road championship, at least in his favor. He's running out of time. I don't think it's going to happen. Laville, you know, time's just ticking down where he just has to be clean the rest of this race, and he should be good to go here. So all sorts of gears in motion here, but everybody single file, very spread out at the moment. So nothing looking to be very goofy at the moment. And everyone going to be sit to cruise control here for a little while.
Yeah, cruise control for the final 12 laps, I feel, is going to be the way to go. Maybe not between Lucas Laville and John Elmsweiler in the 10 and 88, because they are, again, within a second of each other. But it's just going to come down to battles. Lucas Laville also has got lap tyres, which are 7 laps younger and much newer. So Laville is going to be in the better position for the faster lap times and was faster on the last time around. So Emsweiler is just going to be trying to keep with him. Probably won't be able to for very much longer though. He's going to lose the draft pretty quickly. The gap's already out to a second, so I'd say that battle for third is more or less done and dusted for Lucas Laville's favour. But Robert Grosser is still ahead by about 5 seconds. Dalladoni is ahead by 10. No one can touch him. So top 3, I would say, are more or less decided here today. Cisco could see maybe Emsweiler throwing a little bit of surprise into the mix, but this late in the race and how far back he is saying that, he's just come to about 4 tenths back from Laville. So the battle for third is well and truly on.
I mean, yeah, it is. Unless a meteor hits the Earth, then, you know, that might change things considerably, because this is where we are. Emsweiler very slow off the final corner, and this is kind of the MO we've seen off these guys. Emsweiler very good into the corner, not as good off the corner. Laville, opposite theories for him, very good off the corner, not as good going into the corner. So that's the differences in those setups for those cars. And right now it's favoring Laville as he's out front, but there's just, you know, you can't do anything between these guys, and this is just how it is. So as the race continues to fall in motion here, only 10.5 laps to go here, we do want to remind you that coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series is brought to you by Logical Innovative Engineering. Logical offers professional solutions to satisfy the needs of sim racers everywhere. With the help of a passionate professional team, they have created several tools that easily adapt to a sim racer's needs, including their way of driving, reacting, and feeling. Logical intends for you to experience each lap, each acceleration, each turn like never before, and to make you feel like you are in a real race car. Logical, proud sponsor of the Classic IndyCar Series. And we do also want to remind you that that battle for that Clean Driver Award, the Joel Real Timing Clean Driver Award, currently being held by Rory Collins, is on Joel Real Timing, the official timing sponsor, the Classic IndyCar Series. And I believe after this race, at the conclusion of this race, we'll be heading over to hop in the 2Ks. Isn't that right, Jack?
It is. Join us in just half, or join us again on RaceSpot TV in half an hour time. Myself and Hugo are going to be making the trip all the way across the Pacific Ocean to Lime Rock Park for the next round of the 2K World Cup Skip Barber Series, and I'm going to be joined by Cameron Walsh in the commentator booth. That is going to be an interesting race to watch. Make sure you don't miss it, because it will be exciting. The 2K World Cup always is. But back here to Motegi and the Japan 300-mile race here. So we are within the last 10 laps, down into single figures on laps remaining. Emsweiler has not been able to keep up with Laville. Laville has pulled that gap out to over a second, so he's going to be losing the draft pretty quickly now on Laville. His lap times are going to be dropping quite considerably.
Yeah, and Laville. Oh, sorry, go.
Cisco.
I was just gonna say Laville has had a very good day. You know, I have to wonder though, without that, if he didn't have that rear of the grid penalty, what could have been for Laville? 9.6 right now, back to your leader. If he didn't have to fight through all that traffic, and we saw that incident earlier on where the cars got sideways, Laville had to slow down for that, and they completely changed the strategy on that number 10. I wonder, Jack, without that rear of the grid, if he had started next to Dalladoni, maybe around that kind of top 5 area, would we be talking about this race in the way we are?
I don't think we would. I think we'd be talking about the leader as Lucas Laville, and I think we'd be having a battle for the lead between Dalladoni and Laville all the way through this race. So that rear of grid penalty has definitely hurt Laville, as it's taken the win away from him. But I think that's the only thing it has taken away from him, because he's still going to come away with the championship for the roadside anyway. So it hasn't hurt him that much. Of course, he'll be annoyed he didn't get the win on his championship winning race. But yeah, that's just not going to do much. And we're going to go have a look at the 06 car of Randy Shoemake. Looks as though his day is over. Down onto pit lane, parked it up and out of the car. So he's down in 17th position anyway after that small flip on the first lap. So Shoemake's day is over. Top 3 is still going to be the same. Alessandro Dalladoni going to be leading. Robert Grosser going to be in second. Lucas Laville in third. So good day for those guys out there. Laville obviously probably not the day he wanted with the rear grid penalty, but he's still going to come away with a half decent result.
Yeah, so it's this race starting to wind down right now, and you know, it's going to be a case where this championship will go, at least the road championship, will go to Laville, and Laville continuing to pad that championship lead that he's going to have, I believe, because the way the drop weeks will work, I think this one may actually, depending on where he finishes, I don't think it'll factor in, but just a good another top 3 finish. Grosser really not able to gain any points on Laville here because he hasn't been able to lead a whole lot of laps or sit on pole. So what could have been a great points day for Grosser because Laville had to start in the back is basically gone at this point because Laville soldiered up through the field all day and made it happen. So Lucas Laville, an excellent job. And meanwhile, for Alessandro Dalladone, just 8 laps to go at the line for that driver in the 98. Let's hop on board with him for a lap here. And we're going to hop on board with the 98 as he deals with some lap traffic. You saw the car of Caden Bomberspatch go by the right side. This is RaceSpot TV. Fan immersion on board that 98. Beginning to count down for Dalladone here. It's just cruise control at this point as we bring you back here to the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering right here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Cisco Scaramuza, Jack Styles here along with you for the rest of this race. 6 laps to go at the line for Alessandro Dalladone, and what looks like a race to be wrapped up, gift wrapped with a bow on top for him at this point, because unless, like I said before the break, unless a meteor hits the Earth, he's gonna have this race sealed up for that second place, and it's gonna be basically just a shoe-in for Dalladone.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think most of the top 10 are now going to be on cruise control. We're going to look slightly further down your field to look at drivers who maybe get ignored in these kind of races when we have all the action up the front. Jos van der Ven, someone who we saw just on Wednesday night in these 60 Plus Racing Adventures, if you can remember that far back, Cisco, was up the front. Today he's running down in P number 12. He has got the challenge of the 34 machine of Rory Collins. So these two are going to be fighting. They've been fighting for a while, although that gap has just expanded out. I think Jos van der Ven, maybe you've got the move done before we got a chance to have a look at it. So van der Ven is going to be looking at 12th position here. Rory Collins is probably not having the pace to keep up with him. So I think more or less up and down your field, everything is going to be more or less sorted, apart maybe from James Payne and Caden Bomberspatch, the 19 and 5th and 67. These guys are neck and tail all the way up into the turn number 7, 8 and 9 complex. Caden's Bomberspatch is going to be wanting to make up for time lost early on in this race. He's 2 laps down on our leader of Alessandro Dalladone. but at the moment he is definitely looking like he could get 15th position off James Payne.
Yeah, absolutely, and Payne is kind of had a very up and down day. I mean, he's up positions, so credit to him there, but the problem is he just hasn't had, he's never looked comfortable in that car all day. So Bomberspatch going to look to try and gain a position here. That would put him back to where he started in that 15th position. Payne would drop to 16th, which would still be 2 better than where he started, but that would kind of sit him kind of in that back of the field here. So those are some of the guys. Everybody from 10th back is all laps down at this point. Your last car on the lead lap is Dale Stanley, the number 38. And he is, you know, he's about a minute behind the leader, to put it in perspective. And we're talking about 1 minute 39 lap times. So, or 1:38, I should say. So it's for Stanley, it's going to be very close right there for Bomberspatch. He'll stay with those guys because they're kind of exciting right now. So staying with them, he's going to lose a little bit of time. Bomberspatch does lights up the rear tires, and well, so much for that, because now he's going to let the lap car of Lucas Laville go by here. And Laville, remember, trying to hunt down Robert Grosser any way he can. It's not really going to be possible at this point because Grosser's gone. But Laville trying to just hold on to that 3rd place position, doing an excellent job of it. Emsweiler, meanwhile, back and forth.
Yeah, Emsweiler obviously he's had a few mistakes here today, so he's not been able to challenge the likes of Laville for 3rd. Laville wanting to hunt down Robert Grosser, but he's just not got the time to do it. 4.5 laps remaining. Laville is very quickly running out of time to get that 2nd position, but no matter, unless he gets a point deduction because of incident points, which at the moment could be very possible. He's on 13 incident points compared to Robert Grosser's 0. Lucas Laville could be very close to losing 5 points because of the 14 incidents, but I don't think it's going to be enough to lose him the championship.
No, I don't think it will. I think Laville's basically got this locked up in a bow tie right now. And Dalladone, I will say, what on earth is going on with the 98? Because that lead just went from 12 seconds to 1.7. What on earth happened?
I will go and find out for you, Cisco. I've probably made a mistake, maybe even had a spin. So
unless he was waiting on him. Yeah, I'm winding the camera. I'm going back with you. We're going to try and figure out what happened to Dalladone. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I mean, Grosser has been gaining about 0.6 a lap, but that was a 12-second gap that he's run down. How on earth did he close up that quickly? Unless we're missing something. 3.5 laps to go. All of a sudden, this is a race now.
It certainly is. Robert Grosser can see Dalladone in his sights. Last time I looked, the gap was about 9 seconds. How is it coming down to 2 seconds already? I just cannot get my head around that. Okay, Dalladone was 1.2 seconds slower on that lap. Oh, I think Dalladone might be very quickly losing his tyres, Cisco. I think we have a position
he's
maybe
past, yeah, he's past the 20 lap mark on the tires. Is that the mythical switch on the tires to where, you know, once they go, they start going? Are those Firehawks starting to be very angry at the driver of the 98, I'm wondering, Jack?
They possibly could be.
Oh, he's fuel saving.
He's fuel saving. Yeah, that's what I was thinking to say. Maybe he's fuel saving as well. He short fueled himself to the end. That could be a very good possible explanation to why Robert Grosser is all of a sudden within 2 seconds of the lead. He has got 3 laps just to catch and pass the car of Alessandro Dalladone. Robert Grosser wins this. We could see a completely different view of the championship. Robert Grosser might actually take it.
But Dalladone's starting to open up that gap again. So the question is, if Dalladone has enough petrol to make it to the end of this thing, it's job done. Doesn't have to worry about it, but he has to maintain that balance between staying ahead of Robert Grosser and saving enough fuel to make it to the end here. I'm wondering, Dalladone had a huge gap. I mean, we talked about he made his bet early here, so that in order for the strategy to work out, I'm wondering if maybe the calculation's slightly off. Maybe should have waited a couple laps to come down pit road and use that gap. He might have been okay, but now having to stretch the fuel, I think, past as long as anyone else, longer than, it's going to be about a lap longer than what Laville did on his last stint.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be harder for Dalladone. But I think, as you said, just coming down onto pit road too early, he didn't have much choice. Because he came down early on that first stop, his strategy was settled within the first 20 laps of the race. So he didn't have much choice in the matter. He's had to pit when he did because he was at the end of his fuel stint. So what we're seeing now, he's going to be 24 laps on fuel. Did he field enough fuel for 24 laps? Because Robert Grosser now is keeping the gap. It's about 2.1 seconds now.
He's apparently half a lap good, according to the guy in chat, so we'll see if that pans out the way it's supposed to. But either way, it's that lead is starting to grow, so I think more confidence coming from the driver of the 98, at least of how I'm reading his driving on track right now. So it's looking very good for Alessandro Della Donna right now. 2 laps to go at the line. You mentioned we were going to be close on time, and we are, but we will make it under because only 2 laps remain here. 20 minutes left in the session here. So unless a meteor once again hit the racetrack, we'd have to worry about it then. But for right now, we're good. Della Donna's just going to make sure the fuel holds out for 2 more laps.
Just 2 more laps. He's got to complete around 9 more kilometers of this race. That's all he's got left. Under 10. Cisco, you'll probably be able to translate that into miles for me. I can't do it off the top of my head.
6.
So not many more kilometers left of this race. Just 1.5 laps now for our leader of Alessandro Della Donna. Done a sterling job all day. Apart from the pit stops, he has led every single lap. So he is definitely going to take away the extra point for most laps led, and that is going to play into his hands for the championship. Although he is not a championship contender because he hasn't really raced many races, as far as I know, in the Classic IndyCar series this season. Robert Grosser and Lucas Seville are your 2 championship contenders. Grosser in 2nd, Leville in 3rd. It's going to be interesting to see how the championship standings are for the road side anyway, as we come out of here. For the combined championship, combining oval and road, Lucas Seville is probably going to come away with a little bit more of an advantage. So coming into the final 2 races, but making up positions on the oval is going to be much harder than on the road.
How about this? He hasn't run a race this season. This will be actually his first start. According to Dan Lisa, at least, he is not entered on the entry list for any races prior to the race here at Twin Ring Motegi. So Alessandro looks to go 1 for 1 in his first race. That'll be huge if he can do that. White flag out on circuit. This will be the last lap. Della Donna is just got to make sure he makes the field just last that little bit longer. He can bring home the race win here. Grosser is closed up. Not really at all. It's now 2.46. So Della Donna doing an excellent job of metering that gap between. Oh, he's going to get the cones there. All of a sudden, a little bit of a mistake there from the 98. He's got less than a lap to go. He cannot throw it away right now.
He's weaving going down the straight. I think maybe he's got something stuck in his front wing. Well, I don't believe he has. I can't see anything on my screen. That gap is still at 2 seconds, so he's got a lot of time to lose in the last half of lap to be able to lose that lead. So Della Donna, as long as he keeps it on the green stuff. Well, they're saying that he's still weaving, Cisco. What's going on? He's got wide coming through 7. Let's see what he does through 8. He's going to stick on the racing line. This is inviting Robert Grosser. Is he trying to shake fuel into the fuel tank?
He should be good to go, but you have to think you don't want to strike with hubris now. Don't mess with the sim racing gods, because they can strike you back if you are not careful. Around the hairpin for the final time. Only a couple corners remain for Alessandro Della Donna. This is the longest straightaway here. He'll have to make it down the front straightaway, but this is the long one. It looks good. He's weaving back and forth right now. Maybe celebrating, but I wouldn't risk it. Couple corners to go here. The acute right-handers, they head under the bridge here at the Super Speedway. Della Donna's only got 2 corners left to go. He gets very loose there. One final corner, and he'll hold on, and he'll steal this one away if he can make it last down the front straightaway. Survey says no. Grosser's gonna get him at the line, and it wasn't enough. Della Donna just lost it.
He ran out of fuel on the line. That is so unlucky there for Alessandro Della Donna. He led the race all day and lost it in quite literally the last 10 meters. He's going to cross the line to finish 2nd. Lucas Seville finished 3rd. What is going to happen to the championship now, Cisco? Robert Grosser is going to come away with his 2nd road win of the season. That's going to upset the championship.
That's going to absolutely upset the championship. Let me get the points up here. It's 50 to win, 35 if you're 3rd. That's a 15-point gap. It doesn't matter about bonus points. Even if Leville loses, that might have just handed Grosser the road course championship. So all one mistake, one miscalculation, huge championship implications. Robert Grosser just ran away with the road course championship, winning his 2nd race here at Twin Ring Motegi. Oh my goodness, Jack. What that meant. One miscalculation. Della Donna was so close. We'll run you through your full race results here in a moment, but oh my goodness, Jack. That's drama for you.
That is drama. That's what we like to see in the Classic IndyCar Series. We do see a lot of it, I must admit. So, Robert Grosser is your 2017 Classic IndyCar Road Series champion. I'm pretty sure we will be able to talk to him. He always comes and talks to us after the race, however bad the race he's had, or however good the race he's had. So, it'd be interesting to talk to him, give him his congratulations. So, but that is a sterling job by Lucas Field to come back to third from his rear of grid penalty. So, what we have seen today is an exciting race there at Twin Ring Motegi, and I believe you had the results, Cisco.
Yeah, full race results here from Twin Ring Motegi for round number 10 of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovation Engineering. Yes, I got that order right. All right, Robert Grosser is your winner here, coming home second, so close, half a second away from winning this race. Alessandro Dalladone will bring it home second. Lucas Leveille will coast home to third, 5 seconds behind those two. Then John Elmsfeiler, Sam Sanders round out your top 5. Hans Pitikanen is going to come home 6th. So going to go to Henry Bennett. 8th going to go to David Costello. 9th to Dale Stanley. Rounds out the top 9 who made it on the lead lap. 10th place going to go to your first car 1 lap down, Tim Miller.
11th is going to go to Johnny Garrett in the 82, 12th to the 18 of Jos van der Ven. Just behind him in 13th is going to be Rory Collins bringing that 34 car home, and 14th is going to be the number 4 car of Andrew Adair Saunders. 15th is going to be James Payne, 16th is Caton's Bombersbash just not being able to get past Payne in the final few laps. And then your non-finishers, Randy Shoemake, TM Huser, Timo Isanyemi, and your non-starter of Lewis Zambelli in the 23 car.
Well, that'll wrap it up here, at least for the moment, from Twin Ring Motegi. We'll look to talk to the race winner, the road course champion winner, and a couple other people here in just a moment. But we're going to step aside and hear from our sponsor. But this is the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering. We'll be right back here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. We welcome you back here to Tochigi Prefecture in Japan and the Twin Ring Motegi for post-race coverage here of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering right here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Cisco, Scaramuza, Jack Styles along with you, Hugo Luis in the production truck pushing the buttons and getting ready to get the Superjet over to Lime Rock Park. So we'll make this quick, but we're going to talk to the guy who brought home unofficially the road course champion for 2017. Robert, we're doing the math, and I think that's all it took. Half a second is what separated in. I believe with this race win here at Motegi, you locked up the road course championship, but talk us through it. Right up until that last point, we thought you had it, and then confusion right at the end for Dalladone there, but you steal the win here from Motegi. Talk us through it, man.
yeah, for once I was really lucky. This race was actually Alessandro's race. He had superior pace all through the race. I had nothing to offer, and yeah, I thought that he might be short on fuel. That's why he was driving zigzag. I assumed that at least, and that's why I overtook him at the end. And taking benefit of this mishap, but it seems that he just mistaken the position of the start-finish line. So, yeah, a very lucky win and very exhausting race, I have to say, because I was fighting all the time with John Emsweiler, who had also a very good pace today. Lucas was making his progress coming from the back of the grid. So, yeah, it was really, really intense, and yeah, a very lucky win in the end.
A win for you, which unofficially by our math locks you up with the road course championship here in the Classic IndyCar season. You'll go 2 wins to Lucas Leville's 3 wins, but consistency won out here. You've always been very comfortable on these road courses, and you know, it's not the season championship quite yet, but this will go a long way in your fight towards that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I gained another, I think, 15 points today, so this will be very important points. 2 more races, 2 ovals. Everything can happen on an oval, so yeah, it will be a very intense last 2 races of this season.
Well, I'll let you get a word in here. Any sponsors, shout-outs, anyone I want to say hello to here before we let you go?
Yeah, first of all, to you, Cisco and Jack, for doing the broadcast today. I'm really looking forward to watch it after having a beer. And then, of course, our title sponsor, Logical Innovative Engineering. Then Joel Real Timing, the Lionheart Retro Series, and I also want to give a shout out to Moses Buff, who is providing some very nice graphics for all the races that I am using on social media and on the forums and so on. So thanks a lot for doing this work.
Well, that's Robert Grosser coming away on the top step of the podium. Robert, congratulations. We'll see you here coming out back on the ovals in 1 week's time.
Thank you very much.
That's the guy who made it happen 2 weeks' time, rather. But either way, we're going to let him go celebrate. And I believe Jack Stiles has caught up with a couple guys who finished behind him. First with Alessandro Dalladone, and then with Lucas Leville.
Alessandro, first of all, congratulations on 2nd place. I think there is going to be one question on everyone's mind. What happened on that final lap for you to lose that win?
Out of you. I made a mistake in the first stint. So I tried to fill it with more fuel at the end, but I was short and I tried to save a lot, trying not to Robert pipe. But that's it. I was shaking up the fuel tank, but didn't manage to finish the race on proper power. Unfortunate.
Yeah, there you go, Alessandro Dalladone. He dominated the race today, your 2nd place finisher, and I'm also joined by our 3rd place finisher, Lucas Leville. Lucas, we saw you start at the back of the grid. You made your way back up to the front. You did that in just a handful of laps. Were you just throwing your car left, right, and centre into any gap you could find?
Yeah, I was lucky to be able to find a big gap on the front straight at the start. Luckily for me, nobody started in front of me, so I just went by and went like 4 wide, I think, one time. So I was lucky to be P8 at the end of lap 1, and yeah, as you saw, for once I made a lot of passing on the racetrack and on a pit road, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't capitalize on my better pace in the 2nd stint and couldn't pass Robert after the 2nd stop, and killed quote-unquote kill his race with a slight contact. But P3 is a very good result after starting 17th, obviously.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you, Cisco.
Yeah, I'm going to catch up with one more guy, the guy who finished 5th. Sam Sanders brings it home in P number 5. And Sam, interesting race for you. Quick thoughts, comments, anything?
Yeah, it was a good start to the race. We were battling quite high up for the first half, and then we just got into a light contact with Lucas there, and that damaged the car a little bit, which was disappointing, but it was a great race apart from that, and congratulations to Robert, and a massive thank you for him for everything he does for this series. It's really great to be a part of.
Let Sam Sanders finishes 5th, and yep, we're in the hurry up all right, because we gotta get over to Connecticut here for the 2K for 2K coming up next here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. So until then, we say thank you very much for tuning in to RaceSpot TV's coverage of the classic IndyCar series presented by Logical Innovative Engineering. For myself, Cisco Scaramuza, Jack Stiles, and our director Hugo Louis down in the production truck, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you coming from the Oval at Kentucky. But until then, have a great night, and we'll see you soon.